You're now watching Sports Bettor's Paradise on the BetRivers Network.
All right, Jimmy Ott along with Randy McKay. We are getting ready for the Final Four. The Conference Championship Sunday and the NFL Divisional Round is over. And so here we are, Baltimore and Kansas City and Detroit and San Francisco. And Randy, anything to take away from the divisional round that is going to affect your handicapping for this round, generally speaking, before we get into the individual games?
No, some overall, pretty, close, deciding games there. Baltimore got their act together in the second half. Otherwise, the other games came right down to it. Some coaching moves that were kind of a little questionable, on the Shanahan side. And, of course, Todd Bowles made the right decision. Michael Wilbon, you maybe should look up some analytics and see these coaches, that big tweet he put out there, big thing he put on there, awful announcing, retweeted that and destroyed him on that about, teams should go for two in that situation. We got the cover earlier in the year in the Buffalo game because of that. Unfortunately, this one went incomplete, but they did give up a third and 15 to Goff when they did get a 14-point lead against us, which was a main key play to the spread, in my opinion, that hurt us the most. Tampa Bay did have the injuries there. So I think we're on the right side again.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we just didn't get the result. Hopefully get the result here this week in these two games.
And you are, we know you're when you're down 14 late in the game, 7 minutes or less, basically. I don't know if you want to expand upon it much more than that, but the percentages say to go for two. And we've seen it a couple of times this year as far as make the difference in the game. Green Bay beat the Saints. We're down 14 very late, scored 15 late. Tennessee against Miami, that dual Monday night game when the Giants were playing Green Bay. We did see Todd Bowles do it earlier. Although, Randy, I don't mean to correct you, but that line was 10. So they had covered when they scored. They put it on 6 when they converted. What it did allow them is much more stressful Hail Mary at the end, a lunge into the end zone. So because Tampa Bay looked to be dead. But we're trying to decide, and it's more and more coaches are doing it in the NFL in this situation. We're trying to discuss when we could. We couldn't remember if Bowles had done it before, but he did. That was that Amazon Thursday night game in Buffalo. But more and more coaches are doing it. There's no question about it. We're not going to spend all the time explaining it to you, the percentages. But the percentages do say to go for it. All right, let's get to the first one this week, and Baltimore and Kansas City. One thing that I did take away, though, Randy, is that both 1 seeds rusty, fell behind in their games against the teams coming off. And very similar to how I like to play the team that plays the play-in game first, get those jitters out, get kind of more in rhythm of the tournament in March Madness. But, get kind of a note moving forward to next year, slow startings, first halves, if you will, just can make a mental note moving forward. We'd like to learn from what we see and what we can use further on. But Baltimore is 3.5, 44. Now 3.5 minus 103 at BetRivers. You buy it to -3 at minus 130. Kansas City. Here's my biggest thing on this one. And first of all, Baltimore has the best defense left in the field. I think we can agree on that, right? And so that's a big deal. San Francisco's defense, not what it used to be. Just simply put. Kansas City has played 2 teams now at their defenses have been gutted through to injury, and in Miami and Buffalo. I was in game in the over, left and right for the Buffalo Kansas City game, and hit all of them into the high 40s. So Kansas City, the narrative, and I love to fade narratives. Mahomes getting points. He's this record outright, this record against the spread. That narrative alone is going to be discussed a lot in these sports books and is going to warrant a lot of action. Sports books know they're getting that action on that narrative. I you don't have a strong sign on this game, Randy, but I love Baltimore in this spot. Kansas City over the longer haul, it's just not been the same. What we've seen over the course. Check out Mahomes' overall numbers to some quarterbacks that you might think are pretty marginal. You don't have a strong opinion on it, but because Kansas City has been the beneficiary of going against two gutted defenses. This is a whole new ball game. Jackson is improved as a passer. They're still going to use him as a runner. He had over 100 yards rushing against Houston. They made some adjustments as well, and at home. I like Baltimore in this spot.
Yeah, coaching adjustments will be huge here. I favor John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh used to be employed by Andy Reid. That's where he got his start. I think he's much the better coach than Andy Reid. We'll see Andy Reid's offense get cute like they did against Buffalo and run a dumb reverse to a little wide receiver. What does he do? Fumbles the ball out of bounds, out of the end zone. Touchback for Buffalo.
Kept Buffalo in the game.
Should have cost them the game is what it should have happened. They luck out there with Allen, making some mistakes there at the end. Can't blame Bass on missing a field goal in them kind of conditions. You can't put him in Scott Norwood type territory, in my opinion. But I give the advantage here to John Harbaugh for the coaching. You saw him make the adjustments when that game was close at 10-10. Houston blitzing a lot, and we saw that happen. Houston was blitzing a lot in the first half. Monken been a big upgrade as a offensive coach.
No doubt.
And this team looks like it could roll, but this Kansas City defense is tough. We'll see if they get back some of the injuries they had. Willie Gay and one of their D-backs went down. So if they don't get them back, that could be a big trouble there. And I would agree, especially if the public pushes this down to that 3 number. I could see the Ravens being a play here. Also on the Baltimore end, they might get back 2 of their good players with Mark Andrews at tight end, and then this Humphrey at D-back. He's been an all-pro defensive back. Get him back to cover Rice. Rice has really been Mahomes' best weapon. Kelsey did have a big game finally, but that was against the depleted linebacking core of Buffalo that pretty much essentially cost the Bills in that game as well. So, yeah, I would agree. I agree. Maybe we see some points as well. Maybe this total is, maybe a point or 2 low at 44, but let's wait on the weather there and see what happens. But, I would lean with you with the Ravens.
The prop that's been pushing, it's been pushed up pretty good right now. It's in the low 60s right now at BetRivers as far as the Lamar Jackson rushing yardage. But it's the playoffs now, and they're going to look to. I'm glad you brought up Todd Monken, who's been kind of teetered back and forth from the college ranks to the pro ranks, came over from Georgia, took over Baltimore, and he's going to develop Lamar Jackson as a passer. Okay, it's not a light switch. I mean, it's easier said than done, especially for the athletic quarterbacks to try and be committed to the passing game. Monken's done a heck of a job this year. Still got some ways to go, but he's taken the steps that it makes it so much tougher, man. So it is, and keep in mind, this Baltimore defense held at hot quarterback C.J. Stroud 3 offensive points, held them to 2 field goal attempts. That is it. Not one snap inside the 25, much less the red zone. Not one snap in the game, offensive snap for the Houston Texans inside the Baltimore 25. Get extra value. We're running out of time. Football season. Get extra value late in this football season with BetRivers Squares. You can win up to $10,000 in bonus money. Bet $10 in same-game parlays on any game with the Squares icon to earn a square. That's brought to you by our friends over at BetRivers. All right, let's move to the one now that you like, the primetime game in San Francisco. Not still a little drizzly out in the Santa Clara area right now, but it is expected to be clear and 70 for the Detroit San Francisco NFC Championship matchup. All right, San Francisco is 7-51 here. Detroit +7. You got to lay some juice here. minus 118. That's something that you're looking at. There's the underdog Lions.
Yeah, definitely looking at the Lions here getting the full 7. We've seen San Fran struggle last week against a Green Bay team. Came in there. Can you trust Purdy? Can you trust Shanahan? Overrated Shanahan in the coaching rankings, in my opinion. Look what he did down in the late in the first half there, playing for a field goal. He has the best offense, some of the best offensive weapons in the league, and you're sitting on the ball playing for a field goal there. We've seen him choke in Super Bowl. We've seen him choke as a coordinator. People have him ranked so high. I've never had him ranked high. He's always been kind of a, maybe mid-level coach in my rankings. Sure, he has a great offensive scheme and all this. Could use a strategy coach. Strategy coach would have said to go for it hard late in that first half. So never high in my rankings. Of course, Dan Campbell, he likes to go for it. I give him credit for a lot of things he does. I've also, gets a little too over aggressive sometimes, but we've seen him with his motivation been good for the Lions. And this Lions team is better against the run than the pass, so they're gonna stop the run here, make Purdy try to beat them. Can he do that probably without Deebo Samuel, who's 50-50, probably won't play. If he does, he'll be limited. If they do shoot him up, he'll be focused. Their defense should be, Aaron Glenn's defense should be focused on stopping, of course, McCaffrey, their best weapon, not letting him get loose. And on the offensive side, if you didn't see what Green Bay's game plan was to pick on that week number 20, Thomas, I believe his name, pick on that guy in the passing game. Use Jahmyr Gibbs more. Should be a main focus of this Lions team. Electric when he gets the ball. That defense for Tampa got a little banged up second half. We've seen them get exposed, unfortunately, for our bet. Otherwise, I think we would have had that game as well. We just had too many defensive injuries down the stretch. Of course, Detroit did have an injury there with tight ends, so they did have to sign veteran Zach Ertz. So we'll see what happens. And then, of course, watch the weather here in both games. See what happens. If the weather's good in the KC-Baltimore game, probably decent for the total. This game, as far as a total perspective, I still think maybe we could look at it. It might be a shootout. It could be at 51. Too tough for me to call, but definitely a decent bet here with the Lions getting +7. I think they have a legit shot here at winning outright. They've won, big games on the road, KC first game of the season, and they should have won in Dallas, tough environment as well. This environment is tough, but I could see them putting up a great fight here and having a decent shot at winning at the end.
All right, so buying to Detroit +7 to -118. Randy's pick this week in the NFC conference, an NFC championship game. I'm gonna continue to roll the dice with Jackson on the rushing yardage. Wonder the way I see it falling. If you have Baltimore and you have Jackson, I don't think you lose both. The only way they will quit running him design run is if they have a big lead, and then they'll just hand the ball off, and not run him design. If he's behind, it's close, it's competitive, he's running. And you saw it. I mean, he has come a long way as far as his passing is concerned, but he is still quick to pull it and run it, after some early looks, and if they are not available. And we flat out saw some maybe him to score a touchdown as well. We'll get into some of those later as we get close, but might even have to get on it early because I think it's going to be a popular pick. He went over so easily that high 40 mark in the divisional round against Houston. All right, we'll be back, Big Dog, for the Super Bowl. We'll have some prop picks for that one, as we'll have the big betting the game that started the whole thing back in the day before they put them out on each and every game. For Randy McKay, I'm Jimmy Ott here in the Sports Bettor's Paradise on the BetRivers Network.